For me, unless all these 10 elements were present, I would have a hard time moving forward into anything else. What we're going to talk about today holds the structure for everything else we do. Today, we're going to challenge you to a youth ministry audit. We're going to talk about 10 points of health, so get out a scorecard and see how you do.
Welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we bring you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. My name is Jeff Lascola, and this is
Kristen Lascola, and today we're going to do a little youth ministry audit.
Yikes!
So get out a score sheet or something and see how you do out of 10. These are questions, I guess, that if I were going to assess any youth ministry and maybe coach someone individually, I would ask if all of these 10 elements are present. I think this is, to me, sort of the skeletal system of a youth ministry.
Okay.
Like, I just feel like until, for me, these are just my opinion, for me, unless all these 10 elements were present, I would have a hard time moving forward into anything else. I think what we're going to talk about today holds the structure for everything else we do. And so, yeah, see how you do. So number one, I don't want to say
dramatic pause
because I don't want to say it. We've said it a million times if you listen to our podcast, so you probably aren't surprised. Split junior high and high school.
Yep.
If you haven't already, make plans to do so. So even if you are planning to, give yourself a point. If you're in the works of it, you know, we have other episodes.
If the thought crossed your mind.
If you think you might someday do this, and I know it's hard. I'm not pretending this is an easy move to make, but in my opinion, it just is the most healthy scenario. Now, do we do things out of necessity sometimes for a season? Sure. So that might be the season you're in right now of having to keep junior high and high school together for a particular reason. I would just like to challenge you to make plans for that to be your goal for the future. And if you're in a place where you can do it, why not? It's maybe going to be harder work for you in the short run, but long term, it is the most healthy scenario for a lot of reasons that we've talked about before, but I'll give you the quick snapshot. Number one, high schoolers don't want to hang out with junior hires. And I know that is not like a earth-shattering truth for you. That is very obvious. Secondly, middle school parents really don't want their middle schooler to hang out with high schoolers and be in the same like discipleship group as them. I heard a funny, sketchy story this weekend. I just got back from a leader retreat and it was so much fun. I took my leaders up to the mountains and we frolicked in the forest together and it was very fun. And I was talking to this lady and she said, oh yeah, my youth ministry was combined, you know, when I was in youth ministry and I was in 7th grade and this senior boy was hitting on me. Yikes. And blah, blah. And I'm like, exactly. Now, is that like, that happens every day? Right. No, but see, that's like just the waters we don't even want to tread in.
And that's the parents, one of the parents' fears.
It is. And then to hear that it really happens, you're like, yeah, okay. And she's like, I was just really tall for my age, you know? And I was like, but still. So, you know, it's just not ideal. It doesn't set you up for maximum potential of health. Or growth. So you could stay stagnant. You could shrink a little bit, but exponential growth is very hard in that environment. So yeah, I hopefully get the point. I know I ruffle feathers on that one. And I think no matter what, you can't convince me otherwise. And maybe I can't convince you otherwise. So maybe you just skip that point. I don't know.
And we have a couple episodes that we've done on that. One is kind of all the reasons why, where we go in depth about that. And then the second one is kind of like steps to take to be able to transition and make it into a split ministries.
Yeah.
And I think just one more thing to say before we move on to number 2, I think you're probably more ready and able to do it than you think.
Yeah, I think it sounds a lot scarier than it is. I think it's such a big change. People probably put it off. But, we were talking to some friends tonight and they're in ministry, and the fact that people don't do that shocked them.
Yeah.
They're like, no way. People do that. And I'm like, most churches combine junior high and high school, and they're like, they didn't even believe us.
Yeah.
No, that couldn't possibly be. So it's also like the DNA, or like what church you grew up in, what church you work at, what's normal, because for this couple, it wasn't normal where they were used to being in church. For us, it's not really normal. So on us, the other side, it's like, yeah, right. People don't actually do that. And then if that's how you grew up, you're like, what church actually has a person or a ministry just to do junior high, just to do high school? So I challenge you to kind of see it as like, do I think this is so far-fetched and so difficult because this is just how I've always seen ministry? Well, realize there's a whole other camp of people who can't believe that it is that way because they've never no way.
And I think most youth pastors would probably say they want to split. Yeah. It's just they can list all the reasons why they can't, but make sure you check out that episode we did, kind of the practical steps on being able to.
If you want to go deeper into
like I said, I think you're closer than you think you might be.
You can do it. We believe in you. All right. Number 2, audit question. Score yourself on this. You have a student leadership team. Very, 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 very important. The student leadership team, in a sense, is my student small group. Like, I don't lead a small group on our youth group night, which is Tuesday nights, but I lead our student leadership team. And those are the kids I really take under my wing and challenge, because I view them as culture setters in our youth ministry. Obviously we have our adult volunteers, and we're going to talk more about that in a later audit point. But the students are extremely powerful in setting the culture. And you, as the youth pastor, empowering them to do so is huge. So student leaders need to be challenged on leadership skills, learn how to be miniature leaders, because we were talking about this at the retreat this weekend. It's one thing for a student to look up to an adult and say, I want to be that someday. It's another powerful concept for them to look at someone who is in their stage of life and say, I don't have to wait to be, Brandon. I can be him today.
Right.
And watching people their own age engage in ministry and serving and leadership and influence is completely powerful, and it changes the entire dynamic of your youth ministry. And another reason to have it, and again, we have a whole episode on this, which we can link down below, would be, I got a really cool email from a mom this week, and she said, thank you so much for our student leadership team. It's called SOS. She said, I love SOS. I was looking at the homework that you sent home, and it is so cool. Like they're a really hardcore, involved, Christian, committed family, that there's something for someone at that level. Like your committed youth group kid that needs to be challenged, that wants to be challenged, that is ready to go deeper, that is ready to kind of go to new frontiers in their faith and their character and their skills. You wouldn't get that just attending youth group, because nobody's literally challenging you hey, next time you see a new person, here's what you could do, or this is what godly leadership looks like. How can we start using this? That doesn't happen just in small groups, because that's such an it's such a mix of people, but these are students that are signing up yes, I want to go further. I want to go deeper. I want to be challenged. I want to learn more. So what you start to create is a program for the core. Yeah. And it draws them in, because they're yeah, I've been waiting for something like that. And she said, I'm so thankful that there's something for kids who really want to be challenged. So if you haven't started one, watch the episode on that because it really can transform your youth ministry, and I would not sleep on it. If you don't have one, it's time to launch it, and it's pretty easy to launch.
Yeah, and it's not that you're not challenging the rest of your youth ministry. This is kind of just taking it, if that's 101, this is the 102 class, the next level up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so number 3, have a designated space specifically for youth. I think ideally, this may or may not be possible for you. You would have a designated spot for junior high and high school. That would be in a dream world. If it's just a youth space that is shared, great, we'll take it. Meaning that you have a spot in your church where students come and they can look around and realize this room was designed for me. It's not on loan. And when it's on loan, we treat it very differently. And it's like almost sends this message of like, don't you touch or ruin anything because we are just lucky to be using this room. Right. Instead of like, hey, come in, put your feet up and enjoy because this space was made for you. And so maybe you do have a space specifically for youth in your church, but it can definitely use some TLC, a little makeover, a little glow up. And so look around the room and say, does this scream, students, welcome here? We were expecting you. Or is it like, well, you're allowed
storage closet.
You're allowed to be here. Well, I even think of like some kind of like multi-purpose room or something where it's like, you guys, a lot of this stuff is off limits to you, but we'll allow it today.
We can be in this portion of the room. Don't touch that stuff.
Yeah. Which
don't even look at it. Don't even breathe on it. It's
reasonable to say, don't go in the sound booth, stuff like that. There can be limits, but just that you walk in and the room is like, oh, this is for kids. This is for students. This is something fun. So maybe you want to either get that space created, or as it kind of nears the end of the year, you can say, what is one cool thing I want to add this year? Like when I look at a room, like, okay, for Christmas with what's left in my budget, I'm going to get the students a Switch, or I'm going to repaint this wall or redesign some logos, or get new chairs, or get some comfy couches, get some fun neon sign off Amazon, which that's what we did last year. We put our ministry name in neon lights, and it was like just the simple thing that made the room like so cool. Hang market lights, easy. Go to Home Depot. You could be done by the end of today. I couldn't, but somebody could. If you're handy like that, not me. One thing we did is we put a countdown clock in our room for camp. Just these little elements that like start to create this culture of like, we value youth. There's an emphasis on youth. We were expecting you. We've created a space just for you. And that does communicate a lot. I think with everything in youth ministry, start to analyze what you're communicating verbally and what you're communicating through what you just simply do. So you wouldn't have to say, our church values youth. But it would be like, well, what do they do for us? Do they create a space? Are they expectant of us? Are they making us comfortable? Are they thinking of things we would enjoy? Like you think of it like a kid's bedroom versus a parent's bedroom. It's not just like, well, you can sleep in here, but this isn't yours. You never want something in the church to feel like it's on loan to somebody else, but that it is theirs because it is the house of God for the family of God. Like let them feel like family there, not that they're like, oh, don't touch that precious heirloom or something. But it's like, no, your family, this is your room. So that's a great analogy.
There you go.
I kind of just came up with it. Maybe it was the Holy Spirit. I don't know.
If you're interested in like the countdown clock or the neon sign, we'll link it in the description below.
Convenient.
What is number 4?
Number 4. Okay, this one you might not like me on either. Sorry. But you should offer youth services at all of your weekend services.
And for those of you that have one service, you're good to go.
Ta-da! We used to only have one and I loved it. I was one and done. So here's what I notice a lot of churches doing is, let's say they have 2 or 3 services for the weekend. One of those, which one, the magic one, you have to guess which one guest visitors? Which one has junior high and high school? Guess which one only has high school? Guess which one doesn't have children's? It's like, please stop.
Yeah.
Can you please offer all ministries at all services? Again, you are serving the people who already attend your church, but we are not attracting anybody new by like having some mysterious schedule that they have to like, can you figure out the secret schedule for when you can bring your child who's 12? But what if you also have a child who's 17? Can they both come? But like that is such a turn off. Yeah. Like, please offer everything for everyone at all services. Because again, going back to the point we were talking about before, what are we communicating when we're communicating, well, if you're on the inside, you would have known that.
Right.
Like, it is perfectly reasonable to think you should be able to show up to an 11 o'clock service and have somewhere for your 3-year-old, 9-year-old, and 11-year-old to go, or your 9-year-old, 11-year-old, and 17-year-old to go. It is perfectly reasonable. And if they're stopped and it's like, see, you should have come at the 9 o'clock, because then it's like, and how can you even invite people to a schedule like that? Like, come to my church. Wait, what are the ages of your kids?
Oh, okay, they can't come to that. Hold on.
So you want to make sure you come to this. It's like, just offer everything all the time. And it even, believe it or not, serves the people who already come to your church well too. There's so many people who it's like, I couldn't come to 9. Let's go to 11. This day, or they're inviting a friend and that friend can only come to 11 because they have a baseball game or something like that. It's just smart. Yeah. It's just simple and smart. I think churches need to make sure they're not overcomplicating schedules so that you have to be on the core inside to decode what's going on. Like, simple, straightforward. I always tell people, if you wonder if we're going to have youth group on Tuesday, we do.
Yeah.
If you wonder what the time is for youth group on Tuesday, it's always the same, 6:30 to 8:30. If you wonder where we're meeting, it's at the church. Like, you don't have to ask me. I'll put out a calendar and I'll email you on Mondays and I'll post it on Instagram. But if you wonder if we're meeting, unless it's Christmas, yes, we are. We are there, and wonder no more. So I think that's really important to have all offerings or all age group offerings at every single service. A very big passion of mine that, again, I realize is not as common as I thought it was. Like, the way I grew up and the way we did ministry from the jump, like when I first started, it's like, I mean, it startled me almost when I heard that church is like, oh no, like junior high doesn't meet this time. I'm like, you're allowed to not have junior high ministry? Like, we aren't allowed to not do it. Like, we will always have something for that age group all the time. It is a law. Like, that's how it feels to me. Like, that's a church law, isn't it? You're allowed to not do that. It's shocking. Anyways, number 5, do 1 event per month and 2 camps per year. I think that's a really great place to start.
And camps count as event.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I do not do an event plus a camp in the same month. If you do that, it's just, you'll be exhausted. But yeah, like a winter camp and a summer camp and then 1 event per month. I think that's a really great system for, how many special events should we do? Or what do I do besides youth group? 1 event a month. Once you come up with your 12, okay, camp. So now you only have to come up with 10. And if you watch some of our episodes, I hand you some very easy ones to do, a Glover-nighter, an all-over-nighter, some beach days, and voila, you're halfway there.
They don't all have to be extravagant. Some of them can be pretty simple.
No, themed nights, competition series, just cool stuff. You just want to keep things interesting and exciting. So it is, at the time of this recording, November, which is a great time to start thinking about the next calendar year. Hey, let's get our events on the calendar for next year and actually start doing some cool stuff. So I think that's sort of a non-negotiable in youth ministry. That's what I'd ask a youth pastor. What does your event calendar look like? Are you doing things to keep it fresh and fun and exciting? And one really great strategic benefit to events is a lot of times that's where new kids will come and people will invite their friends too. So they'll be like, if we do an all overnighter, all of a sudden these random kids are coming out of the woodwork where I'm like, you look familiar, but you heard this was happening and you didn't want to miss it. That might be the catalyst to draw them back in.
Totally.
Because youth group, like your core and committed kids are probably very excited for that. But like a random junior hire who knows your youth group kids, hears that their youth group is doing an all overnighter, and you have a pretty good shot of getting them to sign up and trying to capture them to re-enter community. And, well, you should come on Tuesdays then. If you, oh yeah, I remember you, or, oh, who's your friend? There's just opportunity to capture new students that way. And it's just fun, and it just pumps life and energy to have fun, like shared fun experiences. Hence why I did my leader retreat this weekend. I just was telling them, like, guys, like, we love our students, but we love each other, and how fun to do ministry with people that you just consider friends. Yeah. Like, everyone is like 10 out of 10. It is unreal. I was just looking around the room, like, it is so fun to do ministry with these people. So do that for your students, having shared positive, fun, energetic experiences, that breathes life into people. Like I kind of was involved in the youth group, and then we went on this fun event, and I sat next to this kid on the bus, and then we were like playing dodgeball on this trampoline together. And then we all went and got a snack and got a Slurpee, and then we were, we played a trick on this. Like, I just feel like there's all these memories.
What?
We played a trick on someone, and then we laughed.
Some old man, and he fell, and oh man, you had to be there. I mean,
like, they just do little cute pranks, and like, they just make these memories, and it just gives you the warm fuzzies, and you just want to like keep doing life with these people, but sometimes you need to break them out of the routine of just small groups and just, like, do something fun together.
Right. And just to add this in really quick, the events don't have to be different than your normal week or normal midweek program nights. Yeah. Most of them actually happen on the night you'd normally have youth group anyways. So it's not in addition to, and adding another day.
But it doesn't always have to be. Like, you could do a percentage of them. Like, okay, this was a weekend event, like the Glover Nighter or all overnighter. But then, it could be the competition series on a weeknight that you already meet. So anyways, number 6 is about your teaching. So an audit here is, am I teaching slightly above grade level for my students? And the reason I love to do that is because students need to come in and, like, especially your committed kids that come a lot, they're going to be like, I've already heard this. I already know the story, like blah, blah, blah. And they tune out because they're like, I already know the answer. And church just pretty much tells you the same thing over and over and over again. So that's how I used to feel. I used to be like, yep, yep, I knew that. So when you teach slightly above their grade level, I think you challenge their thinking a little bit more. And to be honest, I teach to adults almost the same way I teach to students. Like, I change some of the examples and subject matter, obviously, but I don't water it down at all for the students. And like, you have to communicate differently to a junior hire than you do to an adult. But the sentiment is like, this is heavy truth. Yeah. And this is real truth. This is tangible truth. This is transformative truth. And so you always want to make a beeline to the gospel. And I learned that later on in youth ministry that, we're not just telling a story of like Jonah and the whale, right? But we're telling, what does this tell us about Jesus? What does this tell us about the gospel? Because every story is a part of the larger narrative. So we want students to not just know about Jonah and the whale so that they know some moral of the story. So when God says do something, make sure you do it, because he gets the final word. Like, that's not necessarily the point of Jonah and the whale. So you have to point them to, this shows us who God is. I mean, and even Jonah is mentioned, in the New Testament, and it's a foreshadowing of, Jesus and his death, and 3 days later, like rising from the dead and all of that. But every single story you tell should you should have a direct line to what does this tell us about Jesus and our relationship to him and what this larger narrative is, because we don't want students to ever walk away thinking that the Bible is a book of fables with a moral at the end of every single one. And every moral is different. So what's the moral of this story? Like, don't sell your birthright for soup, like it's just, no, what is this telling us about the gospel itself? Because the gospel is taught a million different ways in a million different chapters and verses and stories, and it all points to Jesus. But it's like Larry, one of our pastors, describes it as like a diamond. The gospel is like this huge diamond, and every time you turn it in the light, it's the same diamond, but you see a different facet of it and a different angle of it. And I feel like when we walk students through the narratives of the Bible, it's like, now you see the gospel like this, don't you? Like, now, did you see the way that God interacted with people back then? Now turn it here. Now you can see how he interacts with us today. And now turn it here. Why do you think he said that to them? Turn it here. What do you think this says in the terms of redemption? What I'm trying to communicate is get them to think bigger. Like we've got to move beyond morality with students, or Christianity will be just white noise in the midst of like life philosophy. Yeah. And they have to know that there's power behind this. This is gospel. This is like attorney. Kristen Lascola, attorney at law. Eternity is at stake here. And it's not just like, let's just be nice, good people,
right. The Be Good Club.
Yeah. And that's really how I used to treat church as a kid, is like, this is the Be Good Club, where you're going to tell me, don't say any bad words, share my stuff, and be generally a nice person. But we've got to move them beyond. This is not a philosophy for living. Like, right. That could mean anything. Like, where's the power? And so that's where you hold the gospel as this diamond and you turn it every week for them. Now let's look at the gospel through the lens of Jacob. Now let's look at the gospel through the lens of, we did a whole thing on the forefathers, and like, that could be so boring, but like, whoa, this is a setup. Like, something is coming. This is part of the drama, and let me show you why this is pointing to the future and what God is telling his people right here. And, so get deeper into that. Start to teach your students how to think biblically about everything, and not just simply what to think, and not just behavior modification. So that's what I would ask. Hey, is your teaching on par with that? Or are you still just kind of doing story, moral style teaching, very simplistic? It's just not powerful. Yeah. For a student who is asking big questions and is on the brink of adolescence, adulthood, young adulthood, we've got to give them more than that. Okay. So is your teaching in line with that? Number 7, you have a dynamic volunteer staff and culture. Just like I was saying with the retreat this weekend, like running alongside the right people. Do you have a thriving and dynamic volunteer staff? You cannot do ministry by yourself. You can't do ministry for long by yourself. So making sure not only do we have great people, but are you continuing to foster a great culture within those people? You're not going to be able to minister to every student, just a handful, mostly your student leaders. That's kind of, where most of my energy goes. So you need to disciple leaders so that leaders can disciple students. And we've talked a ton about that. So grade yourself on that one. How are you doing there? It's a huge piece of your ministry. Hey friend, I just wanted to interrupt this episode for a second to let you know about an awesome opportunity for you and your youth ministry. So last year we launched our course and coaching program called Youth Ministry Growth Accelerator, and the response has been amazing. So we've helped tons of youth pastors grow the size and health of their youth ministry, and we want to invite you to be a part of that as well, because maybe you're just sort of feeling stuck in a rut. Maybe you don't know what to do next. Maybe you just have a vague plan in your mind of what you're doing, and you want some real help to get you from where you are to where you want to go. So if that sounds like something you've been looking for, go to growyouryouthministry.com and check it out for more details. All right, let's get back to the episode. Number 8, this is along the same lines, but are you developing and producing leaders? So the developing leaders is giving people opportunities to lead and to do things, develop their character and all of that. But I would take it a step further and say, what is your ministry producing? Like, are leaders coming out of your ministry? Are they equipped to fly? Are you giving them wings and opportunities where you could launch them to another church, where you could launch them to another ministry, where you could launch them if you were to ever leave, you know, that they could take your job? You should always be able to look to your right and left and say, who am I developing right now? Who's coming up in the ranks? That is the mark of a great leader and a healthy, thriving church that produces leaders constantly, not just looking inward of like, how's my leadership doing? Am I a good leader? But looking outward of like, where are the leaders that I'm bringing up along with me? That is huge. Number 9, have worship meant for students specifically. So like the room thing, like this space is for you. All worship is good. Can't ever be anything called bad worship. Well, I don't know. Every time I say stuff like that, I'm like, someone's got some interpretation or technicality they're going to call me on. Maybe I'm paranoid because I work with junior hires and they're like, nuh-uh.
What about this?
Let's just say worship is good if you're worshiping God, okay? The one and only true God. Then worship is great. Make sure you're worshiping in their language. So like, junior hires and high schoolers have different needs for worship, which is another reason why splitting them is important. Adults and high schoolers and junior hires have different needs for worship. Now, is it all good no matter what? Yes. We're talking about in an ideal world, you would have worship that hit. I mean, why do we sing little kid songs to the little kids?
Right.
Because that is in their language. They're still worshiping God. Why do the adults not want to sing Father Abraham? I don't know if you can even consider that a worship song. It's more of a learning song, but those little kid songs, like an adult would be like, can you do something that hits my soul?
Right.
Because my soul is advancing in a different direction. And that's the same with junior hires. Where is their soul at? Yeah, they can get on board with songs that aren't necessarily hitting them in the right spot. Like, you know, they could still feel the Spirit, of course, but why not make it specifically for them? And how do you know? Well, we ask our students, what are some of your favorite worship songs? What are the ones that just get you? We had a girl sobbing during worship on Tuesday, and I wish I could remember the song it was, but she said it just got her. Like it was this moment with the Holy Spirit. And we want to set students up to worship God in their native language. And that's going to probably be a little different. And for junior high, like they need a couple energetic songs in there, you know, because that's where their soul is at. High school and college, they need some more introspective, like fall on your knees kind of music, you know, that gets their soul in that spot. But I think the sentiment behind it is we're trying to align worship with where people are at so that they don't have to pretend to worship in a way that they don't resonate with. Right. And that's just realistic. So if you can make worship experiences conducive to the age group you're working with, that would be ideal. Because worship, when students feel it, they unleash. You know, when we do it right, like they'll worship no matter what. But when we hit them right where they're at, it hits different. You see them come alive. You see them connect. You see them like have a moment when we foster it right around who they are, you know, in this stage. So, all right, number 10, and finally, have small groups with consistent leaders who pour into students and discipling them. If you do not break up into small groups with consistent leaders, not just kind of like, you 3 go there and you 4 go there, but like, all right, here's my boys. I have Jeff, Jesse, and Jed, and you know, that's your small group, and they know they can count on you to be there every single week, and you're the one who knows them and is discipling them. And really, I find it interesting. So I think one of our pastors was teaching this the other day. The word pastor is not in the Bible. the word shepherd is. And that's sort of where we get that role from. And our small group leaders are shepherds. They're shepherding people. And I always tell them, you're like the little mini pastor of your small group. Yeah. That's your flock to shepherd. You're the one who's going to know them. And students need to come and have an adult who knows them and is discipling them, because program is great. It brings people in. It creates a sense of community and identity. But the discipleship is going to happen through the vehicle of small groups, not in a large group setting. So if you only have the large group setting, discipleship is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
So that's the audit, Jeff.
Yeah. So if you want to go deeper on any of those topics, I think we have episodes that probably cover almost all of them. We'll link them in the description below so you can check those out. And the question of the day is very simply, put in the comment section below, what did you rank out of 10? If you're willing to share that, how many did you check off of the 10? So put that in the comment section below. We'd love to see that. And this is the community comment of the day. This comes from Lindsay Krause, who is answering the question of what she enjoys about this podcast. And she said, the practical tips and the encouragement to keep trying and keep doing our best for the youth. So thank you, Lindsay. You appreciate that.
That is basically the mission statement of this podcast.
Yes. So
that sums it up.
Thank you for the comment. Thank you guys for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.
Here's the truth. Here, listen, Jeff. Today we're going to do a youth ministry audit. So get out your scorecards and keep track of your points. So stupid. We're going to challenge you to a youth ministry audit. We're going to give you 10 challenges to see how you do. So let's talk about a bunch of words.